East Coast DNA back here again at the Sommo Music Festival. Another early stage performer for this year's event. We have Dee Holt down here from Quebec. So welcome, Dee.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I'd mentioned to you before we started recording too that it's East Coast DNA, so I primarily focus on the East Coast provinces, but especially over the last year, I've been bleeding out into some of the other regions. So you're here visiting the East Coast, so you get points right there. Mm-hmm. But you're from Montreal, is it? Yeah. And so is that born, raised?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So being that you're quite young as well, is this your first time performing on the East Coast?
Yeah.
Exciting.
The furthest I've ever gone was Toronto.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so
which
this
is like 7 hours.
trip.
Yeah. So this was this one was exciting. It's the furthest I've ever gone for a show.
So I'm curious now, as far as like when I'm dealing with independent bands, I know that for that type of thing, there's a lot of different ways that they have to get around. So did you drive down?
I drove down with my family.
Yeah. Okay.
And my band flew in.
Oh,
flew in
excellent.
last night, and they'll be flying out in like a couple hours. But we came down. We just made a trip out of it. So we have an Airbnb, and
excellent.
We drove down. Yeah.
And that actually is a pretty good segue to a question I had, because I do follow you on social media, and I've been listening to your singles like for the last, I don't remember when it was announced that you're here, but I already knew a couple of the songs.
I feel like it was announced a while ago.
Yeah, so you've been on my playlist for a while. You're on my gym playlist, so I definitely am familiar with your music.
Oh, that's so cool.
But I'm curious where you did segue this whole thing into being a vacation for the family, which is great for this time of year to get down here. I know a lot of the touristy stuff's closed, but I saw in your stories that you were experiencing some of the delicacies we had around here.
We went to Richard's.
Yes.
And we had lobster rolls, and they were amazing. They were so good. But yeah, it just became, my mom basically, as soon as she found out that I was playing here, she booked the Airbnb.
Amazing.
Just was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. So I was like, perfect. And there you go.
So you obviously had support from your family growing up to be a musician. Mm-hmm. What age did you start deciding that I'm going to be a musician? Like, were you doing piano lessons, singing lessons? What kind of thing did you do?
I grew up with my dad playing the guitar and piano, like, just all the time. So I grew up with the just loving music. And I was part of a guitar group or like class or whatever in elementary, and then in high school, I was a part of the music program.
This all sounds very East Coast, so I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to check the credibility for your Montreal status.
I didn't like what we were doing in the music program. It was all like theory and trumpet and band and stuff, and it just wasn't what I was looking for. So I switched to the art program, visual arts, because I'm also a visual artist. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of just forgot about music. I don't know. It wasn't my main. It just wasn't really a hobby anymore. And then I met my boyfriend, and we had a supper so that our parents would meet. Mm-hmm. And my parent, I don't know, the topic of music came up, and my parents were like, "Oh, Daphne sings, you know?" And I was like, "No, I don't." You know, I would sing in my room with my guitar, like alone. I wouldn't tell anyone that I sang. Yeah. It wasn't something that I announced to people or posted online or anything. And so I ended up taking out my guitar, and I sang facing towards the wall because I was too nervous. It was just too awkward. And when I turned around, they were like, "Oh my God." And like the mom was like crying and stuff. Like, we didn't actually think you'd be good. And so basically my producer Benji is a family friend of theirs. And so that's kind of the connection. That's sort of how it sparked. It was kind of just an opportunity that kind of fell on my lap, and I'm super grateful for it. But it wasn't something that I ever like dreamed of. It wasn't like a life stream to become a singer, to release my own music. It just kind of happened, and I kind of went with it, and I'm super grateful for everything that's happened because
it seems like it, not that it didn't require a lot of effort to get there, but it does seem that like the last while the trajectory sped up quite a bit. Yeah, no, it really was like it was like just the timing and the connections were just perfect, and I was like, okay, well, like you said, of course it took effort, it takes work and stuff, but it was a huge adjustment to kind of be like, okay, am I really going to do this? Am I really going to sign with a label? Am I going to actually tour? And it took a while for me to warm up to it, but I definitely have put the work in, and recently I took off school to really push music. I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to fully do it. Because I had always been doing it like
on the back burner. I was full-time at school. I had 2 jobs. Like, it was very much...
Yeah.
And so now I'm just kind of pushing it and seeing where it goes, and I'm not really setting too many expectations. I'm just going with it, and I'm grateful for everything that's been happening. And
amazing. And now for stages, like where you said you haven't traveled too far, like Toronto and Montreal, are you playing like bar stages? Like, or
they were all this summer. They were all festivals, so they were all outdoors, which was really fun.
Yeah. So you're getting very seasoned in stages like what you performed on today.
Yeah.
What about going into the colder weather now with the outdoor stages?
I don't know what to expect from that.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll see what happens, but. This summer, for sure, I've gotten familiar with, like, the outdoors and, like, stuff. But this is the first summer that I've actually, like, not toured, but, like, had a
where you're actually out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I've been loving it. I feel like every time it just gets a little bit better.
And now you're kind of caught in a cycle that happens to all musicians, though, is that you had to go out there and get your boots on the ground so that people would be aware that you had music out there to go listen to.
Yeah.
But now that you've done that, are you going back to write more music?
For sure. I mean, I still am. This summer I've been writing a couple, like I've had sessions here and there, and we're kind of working on a 4th EP, like slowly. I have a couple releases that I for sure want out. So I'm super excited about that. And then I'm doing another writing trip in Toronto, and hopefully I go to Nashville again. Like I just want to do as much as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next year's looking for opportunities while you're maintaining the kind of strategy that you already have in place.
Exactly.
We can look for some new material to come out, hopefully over the winter.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, nothing by Christmas then. Like that's a little too eager.
Yeah.
So we'll look for definitely new material in the next year. If people want to keep an eye out for not just new releases, but maybe some tour dates that might pop up or some one-offs, where's the best place? I mentioned that I was following you on Instagram.
Well, I think that's the best place. Yeah. That's the place. I'm really terrible at social media. Like I'm really bad. And so I think Instagram's the place where I feel most comfortable.
Sure.
Here and there I'll post on TikTok, but I feel like it's not.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a disconnect on the East Coast, especially. Like I know you're just outside that bubble, but I think it's because the distance between communities and stuff that you don't really have the same centralized vibe within a group.
Exactly.
So it's people use it, but it's not the same. Instagram definitely I find for this content.
For sure.
I get a lot more views and followers.
Yeah, the feedback on Instagram for this type of stuff is for sure better. Like I feel TikTok is just random. It's just algorithm. It's just like easy videos.
Absolutely. More scrolling.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fun, but you need to put effort into curating it for yourself, where Instagram seems to have that already put right in your face for it, and you curate it by who you're following. So if people are following you there, they'll keep up to date, but I'm curious outside of the music thing where you mentioned visual artists as well, and I usually ask a lot. I'm a big video person because I grew up with much music, and that's why my podcast includes video.
Okay.
But I'm curious for yourself, a visual artist, do you have any music videos that you're working on in the future?
We don't have anything working in the future. However, like most of the videos that are out now, all of the animated ones are all by me.
Oh, amazing.
So I animate my own stuff, and all my like cover arts are me, and my merch, I made my merch. I designed it. Like I really am like hands-on everything that's visual for my project. I want to have control over that. And it's not that I'm not open to collaborating with other people on it. It's just that I for sure need to be a part of it.
And the funny thing is those animated ones that you mentioned, I shared some of it in my stories for East Coast DNA as well. So I'm familiar with what you're talking about. But if you look behind you, it also matches the aesthetic of what they do for the Sommo Festival material as well.
Really? So it's true.
It's kind of neat. So you should, if you're looking around, you'll probably end up sitting beside the person that's actually doing all those sketches and stuff too. So
I love the visuals and like the vibe of this festival are just amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah. And before I let you go, actually, on that note, it says music, food, and drink up there. Now, the drink thing is up to you. do your own thing. But I'm curious for the food thing.
I haven't tried any of the food, but I've been driving past and I can smell it.
Yeah.
It smells so good.
I did see also, you talked about the lobster rolls, but you had some kind of waffle strawberry thing or something the other day too. I don't know what that was. It was in one of your stories. There's a picture of something that looked like a waffle.
I'm forgetting.
Thing. I don't even know. So maybe when we get off recording here, we should take a walk around the grounds, because I just arrived shortly before you came in here too. So we should take a walk around and see what they have. And I want to check out the culinary stage up the top of the hill there as well. So let's go check out what's going on there. And I'll get you to come back maybe in your slower months over the winter. We'll find out where you are with some of your new recordings and see if you have any new live dates to announce to people as well.
Sure, for sure.
Thank you very much for your time, Dee.
Thank you.
And we'll talk again soon.